Hi guys, welcome back to another fashion school fashion student Q&A video. Just like last time, I'm pulling questions from a community post on my page and then also integrating a few frequently asked questions as well. Just a bit of background context before we start. I am going into year 3, junior year of my college experience, and I attend Parsons, the new School of Design in New York City. If you guys are curious about my application portfolio, I do have a video out about that, so check it out if you haven't. So I got a lot of questions asking me how I got into fashion design and what made me want to go to fashion school, how old I was when I started fashion designing, have I always known that I wanted to be a fashion designer, did I know how to sew before going to Parsons, my skill level and such, what I did in high school and classes I took before leading up to Parsons. So I started fashion designing, if you can call it that, in my first year of high school. I'm not sure how old that is, like 13 or 14 I think, and I definitely did not always know that I was going to do a fashion design. But here's how I first started getting into fashion design. So about my high school and the classes I took, I'm not going to talk too much about that because I really didn't take anything special. Like, I took a few AP classes, but I wasn't on an art school path or anything like that. However, something that I did do that not a lot of people around me were doing it, like not a lot of people in my school were doing it, was take classes at a local community college. And the classes that I took were fashion and sewing classes, and I don't remember why I picked fashion design. Like, my first class was called Beginning Clothing Construction, and I have no idea why I picked that because there's like no family influence whatsoever. My grandma never taught me how to sew, nothing like that. I don't know, it was kind of random. I just remember school was kind of boring and I had a lot of free time, so, you know, why not take some classes at a local college and like pick things that I'm actually interested in to learn about. And it's free for high school students to take community college classes, so basically a win-win. I will mention I was in AP Art for my last 2 years of high school, and that was a really good class to take because most of the projects I did in that class went into my portfolio for applying to Parsons, FIT, Pratt, etc. So yeah, maybe in high school take a class where you have the freedom to do such projects so that you can spend some school time working towards your portfolio. Okay, I also got a lot of questions asking how expensive is fashion school, how much money fashion school takes up, and if the scholarships actually make it affordable. Also, a lot of people seem to not be able to find out like the real cost of tuition and everything at a certain college, but actually these things are all very easy to find on the website, on like any school website, I'm sure. Like for Parsons, you can see tuition prices based on the type of degree you're going for. You can see dorm and housing prices. You can even see like university fees and all that. So just do a quick little website search, browse the website a little bit, and you'll be able to find a lot of that information. So fashion design is a BFA degree, and Parsons is a private school, so it is very expensive, and it's in New York, so the cost of living is also very expensive. And just on tuition alone, based on this chart from the website, tuition costs about $50,000 a year. So yes, it's very expensive, and I would not be able to attend if I hadn't gotten a scholarship. And based on my experience, private schools, although they are more expensive, they usually tend to give out way more scholarships to students. How difficult is it to get a scholarship? Do you have to take some kind of exam? Everyone gets considered for a scholarship when they're applying to Parsons, specifically fashion majors or like any majors that require a portfolio, I think. So there's no like extra exams or anything that you have to take. You just submit your application and your portfolio, and then you will get a scholarship. But it just, you know, everybody gets a different amount. Does Parsons do application essays as well as portfolio? If so, what were your essay topics? Yes, Parsons does ask for an essay along with your portfolio application. This is the same as well for FIT and Pratt and Also SAIC I applied to. I think they asked for an essay as well. The essay question was the same. Why do you want to attend this school? I think there was also one school I applied to that asked like what makes you a good fit for this school. It's not a super hard essay question. I just feel like you have to be genuine about it. Tips on finding a good school for design. How to find a fashion school suitable for me. Do your research and look at the collections that the graduate students put out, and you can kind of get a feel for, you know, what that type of school might specialize in. Also, go visit the campus if you can, because location and environment is very important. I visited Pratt, FIT, Parsons before applying, and they're all very different. Pratt is more of like a traditional campus where it has like a gate surrounding it, whereas Parsons, FIT, you know, they're in the middle of Manhattan, so you don't really have a school campus. You just have buildings that are like blocks away from each other. And then I also attended this 3-day workshop event type thing for a school back in San Francisco that I was considering, and I didn't like it at all. It just wasn't right for me. So if you can find opportunities like that, try and attend them just to feel out the vibes of the school and see if it's right for you. What kind of skills do you need in order to get into a fashion school? The most important thing, I think, is creativity, just creative thinking and being able to come up with a lot of ideas. And Parsons thinks so as well. They actually don't require you to know how to sew or have anything sewn in your application portfolio, but rather they look at the concept behind your work, because technical skills can be learned and they'll teach you that at school anyways. So they'd much rather you be able to come up with original and interesting ideas. However, this is not every single school, so once again you have to do your research, because other schools will require you to have more skills and will require you to have sewn pieces in your portfolio. But obviously technical skills are important as well. I feel like you should be able to sew and know how to sew before going to fashion school. At least just have knowledge about how a piece of clothing is constructed. I have gotten a lot of questions asking if I pay for my own materials for projects and stuff, or like if the school gives me money to spend on materials. Honestly, kind of a crazy question, because I cannot imagine Parsons giving me money to go buy fabric and stuff. Everything is out of pocket for students. We pay for all of our own materials. It's just like a regular university where you have to buy textbooks for class. Like, your school doesn't give you money to buy textbooks for your class, right? People will spend like $200, $300 for a single garment, and that is nothing out of the ordinary. How many all-nighters did you have to pull for final exams? Quite a few, my friends, quite a few. I don't totally remember, but I was watching back my finals videos, and it was like 3 or 4 days out of the 5-day school week. So yeah, it was quite a lot. And you guys know fashion students don't have a finals week. We don't have exams or anything like that. So I can proudly say that I have not stayed up all night studying for anything. It has always been for sewing, sewing, and sewing. Have you improved a lot in sewing? Tips to improve sewing. I do think that I have improved in sewing. If you want to get better, try sewing new things using new techniques. Increase difficulty as you go on. For example, sew zippers, pockets, collars, round edges, different types of fabrics like knit, stretchy, hard fabrics, denim, leather. Use different threads, different types of stitches. Just, there's a ton you can do to improve. When I started learning how to sew, I would watch YouTube videos. I would like buy patterns from the store and follow their instructions to sew my garment. Do you think it's possible for someone to get through fashion school if they can't handle stress or criticism? Fashion school is very stressful, it can be very overwhelming, and it can break you. Okay, maybe I'm like exaggerating a bit, but it is very stressful, and of course one can learn to adapt, but I just think you have to really love it, because you will spend like hours and hours and hours non-stop sewing and pattern making and cutting and seam ripping and re-sewing, and it's just a lot. You will really hate it if you don't really love it. How to avoid burnout. Every semester I try to have one class that has nothing to do with fashion or is a very chill and relaxing class. Like my previous semester, I took textiles, which still is a fashion related class, but it was very relaxing and very chill, and having a class that kind of has nothing to do with your major or is like a bit on the slower side is just such a breath of fresh air and helps give you a little break. So I find it really refreshing. And then I also try to spend one day out of the weekend, usually Sundays, just taking things slow and relaxing and doing things unrelated to fashion. How do you deal with having artist block or design block? I like to change up my environment a bit, go out for a walk, go to museums, watch some new films, listen to some music. I always have ideas just pop out of nowhere, inspired by the most little, most random things. So yeah, instead of just like sitting there thinking about what to design, maybe get up and stretch, go out and get some fresh air, and then come back to it with a new mindset. Post-graduation plans and career plans. I've always said that I'm probably gonna stay in New York after graduation and do work here. I'd also really love to work abroad at other companies outside of the United States. I think currently though, I'm leaning towards the fashion product pathway, and I don't know, I'm kind of thinking about doing things like integrating technology into fashion, but I'm not too sure about that yet. Do you get a lot of anxiety being in New York with so many people? Do you feel safe at your school and walking around the city? I do. I get very overwhelmed when there's a lot of people and the atmosphere starts to get a little bit chaotic. I can only handle it for a little bit and then I have to leave. Day to day, I actually do feel pretty safe, just walking the streets alone or taking public transportation. I don't get super paranoid about the people around me, but I will listen to my gut instinct if I feel like there's something wrong. I trust my instinct a lot, and it's always better safe than sorry. I was in an empty train car once with one other person late at night, and they started to approach me, and I just immediately got off at a random stop because I just felt like, you know, something weird was gonna happen. So just better safe than sorry. With the increase in subway violence recently, how have you been coping / keeping yourself safe? I feel like there's nothing I can do really because those things are like completely out of my control, and it's just kind of impossible to avoid a situation that, you know, hasn't happened yet. I try not to be out dark at night, and I just always trust my instinct. What is the average cost of living in New York City? Based on personal experiences and students like me, housing and rent stuff is probably around 1.5K to 3K plus. And transportation is a hefty expense too. A monthly Metro card is $127, and that's just public transportation. And then groceries are not super expensive, but eating out definitely can be. I usually try to keep my monthly food expenses to $200 to $300. And it's New York, so there's tons of things to do and there's tons of free things to do. So I would say that for me personally, going out and doing activities is not super expensive. So the average cost of living, I'm honestly not really sure because I feel like it's just so different for everybody here. People like me live here, and some of the richest people in the world live here. Average cost of living, I would say monthly is probably like $3,000 to $5,000. And then last but not least, a cute little question, my favorite song. I never really have a favorite song because I'm the type to be fixated onto one song and listen to that non-stop for like a whole week and then I'll move on and such. But I would say a favorite of mine is All I Want by Codaline. I just love that song. Okay, my camera died, but if you made it to this question, comment down below your favorite song. I would love to know. And this is it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it was helpful, and I will see you soon.
Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up.